Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings. Welcome to our second Sunday in the month of November. A bun dance is the theme for the month, and today we are talking about more buns to share. Share the wealth. As we continue to explore the ideas of abundance this month, this week we specifically turn toward bringing our attention to how we do this thing called abundance in relationships. How do we bring it into our outward relationships? How do we approach each relationship with this awareness that we live not only in an abundant universe, but that what it is we are? Now, in a few moments, I'm going to share a story about a farmer. Okay. And this particular farmer in this story is going to talk about this idea of how nature is interconnected. And I would add intra-connected, meta-connected. So instead of fighting for what typo, instead of fighting or resisting from this place of lack and scarcity, shortage, oh, woe is me, not enoughness, this particular farmer is embracing the truth, capital T truth, and recognizes by the way he shows up in life, recognizes how going with the natural flow of the universe benefits not only him, but others as well. This farmer lives with this knowing that there is greater good, greater goodness, greater ways of connecting and collaborating and cooperating with everyone. And that as he does this, this thing called the greater good then begins to show up and is multiplied in the lives of others. Now, the question is, do we, do you, do I, do we live in this manner? Are we willing to? So, more buns to share. Yes, those are buns. Yes, those are buns, but those are not the buns that we're talking about today. Nope. And not even, yes, no, those are not the buns we're talking about today. Today we are talking about, still within the theme of bread. Bread, glorious bread. Oh, how I do love it. Sorry, I digress. Buns, bread. Did you know, however, that bread is a metaphysical, is a symbolic entity, a symbolic substance that, did you know, okay. Well, bread has many symbolic meanings in a variety of religions and cultures. Abundance and sharing. Did you know that bread can represent abundance, plenty, it's another word for abundance, and the importance of sharing with those who are in need? Nourishment. Did you know that bread can symbolize the nourishment that people need to live? Togetherness. Did you know bread can symbolize fellowship and togetherness, connectedness with others? Sincerity and truth. Did you know that unleavened bread can also symbolize this very thing? Sincerity and truth. And as a housewarming gift, did you know that bread can represent sustenance, nourishment, and hope for a prosperous, well-lived life in one's new home? See, when we break bread, we're not just breaking bread so that another may eat. We're not simply doing a form of communion simply so. We are breaking bread, sharing communion, communication, community for all of these reasons. So when we think about bread, abundance, and more buns to share, more nourishment to share, more hope to share, more sustenance, physical, emotional, intellectual, relationships, spirit, more sustenance. What sustains us? Share it. So, Reverend Dennis Merritt Jones says, as our individual abundance consciousness rises, still at the bread thing, right? As it rises, it affirmatively affects the whole of humankind. When we are conscious of our oneness with an abundant universe and with each other, we are compelled to become change agents for this good. This is when our generosity of spirit and our spirit of generosity merge and become a catalyst that guides our actions and makes the world a better place. What is your individual abundance consciousness? Is it that of sharing? Is it that of spreading the wealth? Being a beneficial presence? What is your life-affirming abundance consciousness? Do you have one? Can you express it and explain it? What does it mean? Let's go back for a second. When he says, we are compelled to become agents for good, agents that do good. What did I say last week about being a 21st century New Thought Good Samaritan? A 21st century metaphysical Good Samaritan. In what way are you compelled to be an agent for good in the world? In what way are you and your actions being guided, your mental equivalent being guided to make your life a better place, but to make the world a better place? What are you invited to share to make this happen? How do you know the story, teach a man to fish and he eats for a day. Give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for his entire lifetime. But if he is hungry today, give him a fish to eat while teaching him how to fish. Both and, not either or. Share with others. Do you believe this philosophy works? It works if you work it. Care of Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. It works when you work it. It works if you work it. How are you invited to work it? How are you invited to share it? No, I am not saying go door to door. Hello, my name's Raymont Anderson. Are you familiar with the Science of Mind magazine? I'm not saying go door to door, knock on people's doors and be some kind. I'm not talking about that. But do you have conversations with friends, family, loved ones, neighbors, etc., about the power of consciousness and love? Oh, and what are you invited to share? The Black Panthers shared and created, and many people don't even know this, school lunches and breakfast care of the Black Panthers. And see, this is an example of how all are freed when all are freed. Because the Black Panthers creating lunch programs in the inner city for Black kids became what we now know as the breakfast and lunch program that is in every school, Black, white, and other. When we help, we help. When we serve, we serve. All of humanity is benefited. Jesus breaking the bread and fishes and feeding the 5,000, share. When someone is unhoused, what are you invited to share? If nothing else, do you go to that space where you acknowledge oneness and prayer and the power of prayer? Do you look at them? Because many unhoused people won't even get someone to look at them and acknowledge their presence. Now, I'm not saying be reckless and be unsafe, because there are some people out there living on the streets who have various mental health issues, and that if you look at them, they may get agitated. Yes. And yet you can still go to that space of infinite awareness and pray for their health and well-being. Are you willing to share the truth through yourself, as yourself, with yourself about them? Sharing doesn't always mean having something physical and tangible and handing it to someone else. We can share a word of affirmation. We can share a greeting. We can share eye contact and a head nod, mutual recognition. We can share in all kinds of ways. But when we think we are in a world of lack, scarcity, and shortage, we are far less inclined to share even a compliment. And yet, the fact that there is so much food waste in the United States is evidence that there is more than enough. Simply by the fact that we throw so much away. So, food waste in the United States is excessive. It's another way of saying abundant. 40% of all food produced in the United States is wasted. It's almost half. 133 billion pounds of food wasted per year. That represents 1,249 calories per person per day. Excessive. But the fact that we can waste so much is an indicator that there is so much that can be wasted. It's expensive. 161 billion uneaten food at retailers, restaurants, and homes. It costs $161 billion annually. That's a lot of money. $1,500 per capita for a family of 4. Wasted. So let's revisit. It's excessive. It's expensive. It's also harmful to the environment. Wasted food makes up 20% of landfill weight. The single largest municipal waste source. And the methane that is released by food that is wasted is a greenhouse gas 21 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. So realize, once again, what did we talk about last week? Privilege. The fact that I can eat a sandwich, yum, 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 yum. I'm full. I'm not going to eat the rest of this. There's no point in saving it. I'm going to throw it away. Excessive, expensive, environmentally harmful. But I have the privilege that says, I don't want it. Throw it away. Breathe. An opportunity. This is how we move our feet. This is how we bring spiritual practice into effective living. Diverting 15% of the food that currently gets wasted would be enough to cut the number of food insecure Americans in half. What is an food insecure American, you ask? Someone who doesn't have food to eat in any reliable and consistent manner. If we diverted 15%, we would be feeding almost half of those. Food waste can be composted into sustainable soil additives, or it can be used to generate electricity. Solutions turning possibilities into probabilities into inevitabilities. Relevant spiritual practice. An opportunity. Encouraging various institutions to purchase so-called ugly produce, which would help farmers find new and expansive markets for healthy products that currently go to waste. In other words, that perfect apple that you get might have a sibling that is considered ugly that doesn't make its way to the produce in the local grocery store. It gets tossed and wasted because it's unattractive. It's still nutritious, but it's unattractive. Check in with the kind of privilege that comes with the concept that we will throw away a carrot that is crooked to a certain degree because it's ugly. I'm not going to eat an ugly carrot. I'm going to throw it away. The audacity, the arrogance, the privilege. When so many people are hungry, interesting. What is our invitation? If we are going to share the abundance, if we are going to have more buns to share, then how do we do this in real world, applicable, and relevant ways? That's just one. Dr. Holmes says there is one source of everything in the universe, because it is the universe, which takes the form of the supply we need when we need it. And yet, yes, of course, you knew it, didn't you? But of course, so there is one source of everything in the universe because it is the universe. I just said that. It is everything and takes the form of the supply we need when we have the need for it, and we individually and collectively ensure that those needs are met. So it's not just saying there's only one power and only one presence, God the good, the omnipotent, and it is a supply for every one of my needs. Yes, amen. Excuse me, do you have any spare change? God is all there is. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and God can be the source of your supply when you are in need. I got my enlightenment. You go get yours. Bye. What just happened? So not only is, yes, one source, one supply, yes, every need met, yes. And because you are an individualized expression of that one source, how you provide and meet the needs of others is how God is providing and meeting the needs of others. Breathe. So if you remember from the opening intro, I said that there would be a farmer story. Now will be that time. My Neighbor's Corn by Naren Keeney. There was once a farmer who grew excellent quality corn. Every year he won the award for the best corn. One year, a news reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seeds with others, with neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they are entering the exact same competition with you and what you're doing every year? Asked the reporter. Why, sir, said the farmer, don't you know that the wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field? If my neighbors grew inferior corn, then cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. What? Pause and hard stop right there. Let that sink in. Do unto others, good Samaritan. None are free until all are. If I am to grow good, healthy, delicious corn, then I must help my neighbors do the same. So it is with our lives. Those who want to live meaningful, powerful, magnificent lives, living it well, must help enrich the lives of others. We're in this together. For the value of a life is measured by the lives it touches, the legacy we leave, the seeds we sow into others, not just for ourselves. The quality of response and joy depends on the quality of thoughts and love which we have shared, which we have spread throughout. More buns to share, more joy to share, more love to share, more divinity to share. And those who choose to be joyful must help others find joy, find happiness, find greater health and well-being, for the welfare of each of us is bound in the welfare of all of us. This is why a world that works for all is an urgent call upon us right now. No more rugged individualism. No more pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. It takes a village to raise a child. And as S. Kelly Harrell says, we do not heal in isolation, we heal in community. We do not thrive in isolation, we thrive in community. Breathe. Dr. Holmes says, God wills us to have everything. Yes, you already know what's coming. God wills us to have everything. As we express life, we fulfill God's law of abundance. But we do this only as we realize that there is good enough to go around. Only as we know that all of God's gifts are given as freely and as fully as the air and the sunshine, freely shared alike to all. You already knew it was going to be a remix, so let's remix. God need not will us to have anything. God, being everything, automatically grants access to all that is. So let us ask, are we willing to access, to use, and to share what God is? Whether that's God as corn, God as a joke and laughter, God as a hug, are we willing to access it, use it, and share it? How we express life is a demonstration of how we are fulfilling God's law of abundance, or the law of abundance that God is as the expression of. Can we realize that there is good enough to go around by ensuring all of quote unquote God's gifts, all that life is, are given to all, and as freely and as fully as the air and the sunshine and all of that is to all? Can we realize that? Or are we stuck in a paradigm of lack and scarcity? Or in this case, an anthropomorphic God? So just this concept, God's will versus your will. So what does it mean when we talk about will? If I say, oh, I will do that tomorrow, it's a statement of intent. Will you share? Statement of intent. But in terms of this, God's will, is it the same thing? Are we talking about something different? Will, the faculty by which a person decides on and initiates action. The faculty by which God decides on and initiates action. The thing that one desires or ordains. The thing that God desires or ordains. Synonyms: desire, wish, choice. All of these words, synonyms for will, whether it's God's or yours. These are, okay. So taking that into account, let's breathe and stop referencing this as an either or. Okay? It's not God's will versus your will. As Meister Eckhart said, between God and me, there is no between. So if there is no between God and me, then there is no God's will versus your will. God's will is your will, one and the same. Living the Science of Mind, that says, if some sincere person says to you, then if all this is true, I can do exactly as I please, since God has no will for me. Explain to them again that God's will and God's nature are one. And one part of God's nature is the immutable law of cause and effect. Every person must reap as they sow. God's will for all creation is self-expression. Since creation is an expression of this invisible cause, which we call God, nor can it be considered anything else. Creation is an expression of this invisible cause, which we call God. It can be considered nothing else. God's will, God as creation, creates as self-expression. Since creation is an expression of, breathe, make sure you get this in there, because I'm going to, in what I'm getting ready to read, to say, to share, in essence, what I'm saying is, let's move past even referencing God as creator and we creations of the creator. Since creation is an expression of creation itself, this thing we call God's will is creation creating or creation expressing itself in, through, and as all, which is why your will, the way you direct through the invisible cause into form, the way you direct your mental equivalent into form, it's God's will. As Dr. Holmes says in Richer Living, God sees himself in form, God experiencing himself in his own actions, and God knowing himself in us as us. For the highest God and the innermost God is one God and not two. Yes, but remix. God sees itself in form. God experiences itself in and as its own activity. And God knows itself in us as us. For the highest God, the absolute, and the innermost God, the relative, the individual, aren't two separate gods, aren't two separate, they're one. That is why your will is God's will. Breathe. So what do you do with that? You recognize, as Dr. Holmes said, and as I often reference and quote, whatever is true about God is true about you. So how do you shift your awareness? How do you shift and align with the infinite abundance of all of creation? And how do you bring this into relationship? Dr. Mark Hyman says, the power of community to create health or anything else is far greater than any clinic, any physician, or any hospital. Because we heal in community, not isolation. The beloved community is the very place where we can heal, even when we then go to a clinic, a physician, or a hospital. The healing is already moving in through and as us through the power of community, how we come together in relationship. And part of relationship is reciprocity. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, as long as it's not transactional. Well, if you don't scratch my back and yours is itching, I'm not scratching yours. It's when your back itches, there's only one. That means my back is itching. Sukasa mikasa. There's only one. So reciprocity, this law of reciprocity, this law of giving and receiving is our invitation. How do we show up in community to be, you've heard me reference this, Adam, Eve, their children, Cain and Abel. So one of the children gets mad, kills the brother. God's like, where's your brother? The surviving brother says, am I my brother's keeper? You've heard me reference, I am not my brother's keeper. I am not my sister's keeper. I am not my non-gender conforming, gender fluid, gender rich siblings keeper. I am them and they are me. This law of reciprocity is the law of karma. It is the golden rule. And we're invited, golden rule and platinum rule and meta rule. Me-centered. This is how I want to be treated, so I'm going to treat others based upon how I want to be treated. Yeah, okay, cool. But also, I want to know how you want to be treated, and let me treat you how you want to be treated. See, when I'm grieving, I like to talk to people. But when you're grieving, you may simply want someone to hold space and be with you. So I'm going to learn what you need. And then how do I provide that? How do I show up in such a powerful way that I am willing to sow seeds into creation, even though, as the proverb says from Nelson Henderson, the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit for whatever reason. You're traveling. So I'm going to sow seeds and grow a tree here. I'm moving on, though, to a new city, new state, new country, new life after life. I'm never going to sit under that tree and enjoy the shade, but I'm still doing it because someone will. Whatever I sow is what I reap. So what am I sowing into your life? What comes around goes around. And it's not I'm sowing into your life specifically to get back, but I'm sowing knowing that what I sow, I get back. See, there's a difference between I'm aware that this is going to happen, but I'm doing it because it's going to happen. Because it also works in non-life affirming ways. When you deny the seeds, you deny the tree, you deny it, what comes around goes around. You are also denying yourself that same very thing. Catherine Ponder says, I am open and receptive to my highest good in mind, in body, and financial affairs, here and now. And remix. Right here and right now, I am open, I am receptive, and I am active in the manifesting of the highest good in all areas of life: spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, social, and financial, for myself individually and for others collectively. That is the true meaning of life affirming abundance. That is the true meaning of the law of reciprocity, the karma of reciprocity. Because we are reminded once again by Malcolm X, no one can be at peace until that person has freedom. And Fannie Lou Hamer, nobody's free until everybody's free. So no one can be at peace unless they have freedom, and no one has freedom until all have freedom. That's a lot. So pause and ask yourself, what does it mean for you to be free? What does it mean for you to be liberated, emancipated, for you? And what does it mean for all of us to be? Breathe. Like really go beyond the jargon of freedom, beyond the what does it really mean for you to live your life in a manner that you are? I know I'm free. I know I'm emancipated or liberate, whatever that means for you. But then also, what does it mean for us collectively? Because as always, we are talking about a world that works for all. So look around. Once you have the definitions, the meaning, look around and ask, well, who needs to be liberated, emancipated, and freed in order for us collectively to have the manifested experience of a world that works for all? And remember, we are freed from and free to. And being clear and mindful of what each of these mean and reference. I am free from oppression, lack, scarcity, free to live my highest and best life, free to be in love and in joy, and free to be my authentic and transparent self. Rather than just simply free. Free from what? Free to what? Robert says, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but rather by the seeds you plant. What seeds are you planting? What joy are you planting? What clear and loving communication are you planting? What serenity, global peace are you planting? The science of mind and spirit as a liberation theology offers us a way to provide for ourselves individually and collectively in ways that are beneficial and life affirming for all, including the earth itself. We are invited to model our journey after people like Harriet Tubman. She first set herself free and then did the work to help others to become free. This is, in essence, the work of a modern day bodhisattva. That's the work that we do. This is the path of the beloved community. and we need not sacrifice or delay or deny our own peace or rest or comforts or healing in lieu of guaranteeing it for others. We must both and care for ourselves and, as we are able, care for others. Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 requires us to explore the ways in which we can more actively be 21st century New Thought Good Samaritans who share the life affirming abundance everywhere we go, because it is a divine expression of who we are being. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, if you agree, say it with me the second time around. Realizing the connection of all, I recognize and actively embody my part in the thriving of all. Together. Realizing the connection of all, I recognize and actively embody my part in the thriving of all. So it is. This week's Thursday night discussion group questions or your own personal journal questions. Number one, what is my definition of abundance or wealth, opulence, lack, scarcity, shortage? And how do my definitions of these show up in how I live my life? Number two, do I live more according to the golden rule, me-centered, or the platinum rule, you-centered or other-centered? And what could I do to be more aligned with the platinum, where I am more concerned, where I am coming from the area of what do you need? Not what I need or what I want, but what do you need and what do you want? See, we're all eating pizza because Ray wants pizza. But Ray didn't check to see if you don't do gluten or cheese or whatever, because it's all about I'm doing unto you as I want you to do unto me. So I want you all to give me pizza every time my birthday rolls around. That's why I'm doing it for you. Versus what do they need? What do they want? Number three, who am I in the my neighbor's corn story? Am I the farmer? Am I the neighbor's? Am I the reporter? Am I some combination of all three? And what does it mean for me to take the viewpoint of each of them and play with their varied experiences and varied perspectives and perceptions? So be the reporter. What does it mean for you to be the reporter? Where in your life are you like the reporter who doesn't understand when someone is being nice to others versus focusing on their own individual? But you're helping. Why are you help? Where do we do that? Where are we the neighbors who receive? Oh man, thank you for sharing these with us. What does it mean to be given this high quality seed? The farmer, right? Play with each perspective. Step into their shoes, per se. Number four, have I ever shared something? Have I ever shared something that I had and I shared it with someone else who didn't have? Are we talking about sharing or giving? Is sharing a form of giving? Have I ever given something that I have, the shirt off my back? Have I ever given the money in my pocket? I have it. I gave it to someone who didn't have a shirt. I gave it to someone who didn't have the money, didn't have the food. Have I ever shared something that I had that another person did not have? And what was the reward? What did I get simply from sharing? Ask yourself. Number 5, ask yourself, what is my understanding of life affirming stewardship? And how might I engage in life affirming stewardship more actively and more consistently? And lastly, what would it mean for me to drink from my saucer because my cup runneth over? And how can I make this a collective reality? Breathe. As we enter into that space where we declare, where we know that which is true, that which God is living, moving, and having its beingness in, through, and as each and every one of us. And that this abundance that God is by default, by nature, God is everything, is showing up right now, in, through, and as us. Wherever we are in our life, have we not had an abundance of inhales and exhales? Have we not had an abundance of skin cells, even those that have fluffed off, sloughed off, dropped off, scrubbed off, and the skin cells that replaced? Have we not had an abundance of? Have we not had an abundance of red blood cells, white blood cells, and molecules? And have we not, are we not a divine expression of the very abundance of the universe? So recognizing that the very thing it is, we are. And that because we are what it is a divine right, a divine call to action to share with others from this infinite well of awareness, this infinite well of love, this infinite well of clear and compassionate communication, this infinite well of the sacred and the divine. There is no need for us to hoard God, but rather to give it to feed the multitudes, to give it to shade the multitudes, to give it that they may drink the living water from the well that is the universe itself. Recognizing through the giving, through the sharing, that they then awaken and recognize this same truth about themselves and for their own lives. And that they then realize, I have an infinite amount of corn seed that I now share with my neighbors. We are not our neighbor's keeper. We are them and they are us. And the law says yes. The law responds accordingly. It responds to our mental equivalent, our thoughts, the way we communicate, our emotions and feelings, and our actions. And so we choose in this moment to be that 21st century New Thought Good Samaritan, the divine bodhisattva of the universe, the bringer of, the giver of love, that people may love and have it in abundance. Joy, that they may have it in abundance. Peace and peacefulness, that they may have it in abundance. Because that very life-affirming abundance is the truth, the whole truth, and only that which is true, right here and right now. So why not live it, give it, be it? And as I said, the law says yes. That means this divine sacred word is already a manifested reality, right here and right now. It is already done. And so it is. And so it is. Namaste and blessings. As always, check the chat, or as recently, past few months, check the chat to see if we are meeting for our after message fellowship. If you see yes, I might see you over in Zoom if you're coming. And if not, then I will see you prayerfully sometime during the week or on social media. Or if not, same place here, same bat time, same bat channel. Love and appreciate you, and I will see you soon.